Money is something that I've wrestled with a lot in my life. And it's also an extremely powerful force in our culture. Not only does it, in a macroscopic scale, guide a lot of the activities of our culture, if not most of them, most of us have internalized the way that money works so that it affects our daily lives in really profound ways. And I think for many of us, we're not exactly aware of how powerfully money shapes our lives. So today I wanted to share some of the confusion that I've had, some of the places that I have gone to is in my mind with changing my relationship with money and having it have less influence on my life, negative influence. And of course, in the end, I'm going to be asking you to share your thoughts or ideas about the role of money, not only in our culture, but in our personal lives. So I want to start with, a few years ago, I did a presentation to the Sierra Club, and I was talking about many things, but the American dream and money and how that works in our lives. And I looked up the salaries of some of the top CEOs in the country. Because right off the bat, there's always been something that disturbed me about money, and that's that the system seems to be broken in some way, and that there's people who are on the streets, hoping for a dollar from somebody, and then there are people at the top levels who have enormous amounts of money that are almost inconceivable. That's just here in the United States. When we start to look out in the rest of the world, there are people that live in even deeper poverty. I did a little math, and I looked at, I think it's for 2015, the top CEO salary, which was $143 million for the year. And we often hear, well, those amounts of money just don't make sense to us. But they don't. So here's what I did, is I did a little bit of math, and I broke that down for what an average worker, most of us that are working 9-to-5 jobs who work about 261 days a year and about 8 hours a day. So the breakdown of this $143 million is pretty interesting, and it helps us to see a little bit more clearly the money involved. That comes down to $547,000 a day. That equals a pretty good hourly rate of $68,000 per hour, which comes down to a very nice minutely rate of $1,141 per minute and $19 a second. Okay, that was eye-opening for me, at least. That was the top person. There's a lot more on the top 100 list that make a much more modest amount of about $10 million a year. That comes down to $38,314 every day, or $4,789 an hour, which is $79 a minute, and about $1 a second. Those numbers are amazing to me and might be amazing to you. I don't share those numbers in order to invoke outrage. Instead, I hope they can lead us to ask a question. What is it in our relationship with money that would help a person feel justified in collecting $19 a second when over 1 billion humans live on the equivalent of less than $1 a day? Knowing that 1 minute of our income could double the income of 1,140 of these families. Could it be that our current relationship with money creates a sort of madness to a greater or lesser degree in almost all of us? And could changing our relationship with money cure that madness? I'm going to do something here that is socially taboo. I'm going to talk about my income. So I have a family of 4, and my family, through the income I get from Real Wild You, we live on a variable amount every year. It changes based on how many students I have. But on almost every year, we come in below the federal poverty level, which is, I think, $24,000 for a family of 4 right now. It's telling to notice that even though we don't make much by US standards, we still have tons compared to many people. If any of us are going to condemn the ultra-wealthy, we might first see that we are subject to the same greed. For instance, my family lives in a relatively small 4-room house, and we all share a bedroom. This might seem cramped, yet if we arrange things differently, we might house 10 or 20 people who would otherwise be homeless. Noticing where almost all of us have more than we need can help us all come together to recognize that we're all suffering from a similar disease. Does this mean that we should all give everything away? I don't think so. But could we help each other to more fully recognize the part money plays in our lives, and could we transform our relationship with it? And the odd thing is that even though we're making below the poverty level, we feel like we're abundant in money. And it's not always been so. I've definitely gone the route of chasing after money, of feeling like there's never enough, and been in that place where every month is trying just to make enough to pay the bills, and was getting behind. Rebecca and I had a period where we went heavily into debt and had a huge crash. We lost our house. It just didn't work for us, the money thing. And so that's why there's been this continued search of, can money be transformed? So I'm going to share today what transformed for me. Before I share that, though, I would like to give you my thoughts about why money is operating the way it does in our system, and why it can be such a destructive force in so many lives. You probably know what I'm talking about. There's people on the very bottom who are just, again, looking for a dollar would make a huge difference in their lives. There's people in the more middle class who have, a goodly amount of money and a goodly amount of things, and yet they tend to still be striving and reaching and trying to get more, and they never feel satisfied with the money they have. Apologies for somebody's running a tractor over there. And even people on the top, and I've had a chance through my work and in the circles that I move in to know some people that are very, very wealthy, and a lot of them are in the same place. They have tons of money, yet they're always craving more, and they can never get enough. And so they will sit and watch the stock market, almost having a heart attack as it goes down, and feeling jubilation when it goes up, and just being carried along on the tides. Money, it clearly has a powerful influence in many, many lives. The reason I think it does is that the way that we look at money is as a system of indebtedness. So anytime money is transferred, it's really a transfer of debt. If I give money to somebody at a store and they give me a good, so I've given them money, and then to transfer, they're now in debt to me, and when they give me the item, then they relieve themselves of debt. But there's still a debt relationship between us. So that if they find out, that I didn't give them quite enough money, or if I find out that this product is shoddy or whatever, we're going to come back and we're going to debate about that. And I think in a subtle psychological way, even if we don't end up coming back together, there's always a carryover of that sense of debt, so that it permeates our lives. And no matter how much money we have, for a lot of us it's very difficult to not feel that debt kind of just clawing at us all the time. As our debt-based relationships add up, it creates a mental heaviness where we never feel at peace with other people. Even in many intimate relationships, such as marriages, a sense of debt permeates. I did this and this, so you owe it to me to do that. I think it's important to notice that our relationship with money seems to affect the basic way that we interact with other people. In a way, money itself is neutral. It's like a knife. It's not good or bad, but it can be used to kill somebody, or it can be used to whittle a piece of wood into a beautiful work of art. And so, for a while I thought, oh my gosh, you know what? Money, it's just evil. It destroys lives everywhere, and there's no way to interact with it that is going to turn it into a positive thing. It's not like a knife. It's like a death virus that everything it touches, it destroys. And I'm guessing some of you share that view. That led me into starting to research. There's people, for instance, that are living moneyless in this world. And there's people that are operating by barter and trade. The moneyless thing has always fascinated me. Myself, my family, we have not had the courage to try a moneyless experiment yet. And incidentally, if you have, I would love to hear your experience with it in the comments below. So we haven't had the courage to try that. We've experimented more with trade and barter, but in a weird way we found that trade and barter, it enacts that same thing, that same sense of indebtedness. So instead of giving money, I'm trading, skills or goods or labor, but there's still that indebtedness that gets set up. And is there another way that money could be used? One could argue that the debt structure is essential, because if I give something to somebody, and I just give it freely, and I give somebody else something else freely, and I give this freely, well then, people are just going to take advantage of me, right? And maybe there's something to that. But I know that Brett, my apprentice, who's now living on the farm after his 11-month program, he's been experimenting with just giving. And he's been amazed that when he just gives out to people, they're so delighted and warmed by that they usually end up giving him back more than he would have charged or asked for in return via money or barter or trade. And so not only does he get the pleasure of just giving freely, but others get the pleasure of giving back. Maybe the only reason that's happening is because we've all internalized that debt structure. It's clawed into us so much that we feel guilty if we don't give back. But I tend to think from my own experience and from watching some people experiment with this, that there's something else operating. There's a joy, you probably know this. I'm sure you do. You love to give, right? There's nothing better than giving to somebody. And when we live in this debt structure, we can't give because there's always this feeling of debt, and it's very, very strong when money is involved, because it's a little weird, right? I can give somebody a $15 book and they can accept that as a gift, but if I give them money of even a lesser value, a $10 bill, I expect to be paid back that $10. And most of us feel we might feel fine getting a bunch of loaves of bread that somebody baked that are worth $30, but we feel a little weird if they just give us $30 in bills. We feel like, well, when should I pay you back for that? So, could money, the question started to form inside of me, could money be used in a gifting way? Maybe this is naive, but I feel like it can. And I feel like that is what's made the shift for myself and my family to have a different relationship with money. And so what I try to do, and I'm by no means perfect at this, I'm starting to explore it more and more and trying to do it in my life, but when I give somebody money, even if it's for a product that I'm going to be purchasing from them, when I give that money, I try to give it as a gift. I remember the old Zen story where the priest tells the rich person that gave him a bunch of money that the giver should be thankful. And I try to have gratitude that I have money to give. Many of the people in this world don't. And so I'm filled with gratitude that I have the money to give. I get a warm feeling from giving it. And then when I receive my product that I'm purchasing, I try to see that as a gift from them and to thank them for it and to feel gratitude for what they're giving to me. And that creates a different feeling to me. Now, the practical part of this is that it would mean, ideally, that if I gave them that money, I'm giving it to them freely without expectation of return. And if they didn't give me the product, or they gave me a product that I could go home and it breaks, but I'm not going to go back and try to return that. And again, I could see where this would feel naive because we need to have this system where there's accountability. But, I'm not sure if the accountability thing is really working in our system. Because I notice that most of the products that I purchase, they're built not to last. They break way sooner than something made 30 years ago would have broken. And so the more we get into this indebtedness and depend on this accountability thing, the more we remove our natural human ability to give freely and to want to give good things. Another side to it, or another way to look at it. If I am giving somebody something because they've given me money, and this is my job, and I just I put out this product. I'll make a good product, but I may not put my whole heart into it. But if I'm making a gift, it might be the same product, but I'm making this one as a gift to somebody, and I want to give it to them from my heart. I'm going to put my whole heart and soul into this. I'm going to make the best one I can. And so maybe that accountability thing and that indebtedness thing is actually operating against our natural human tendency to want to create amazing things, to want to give freely. So that's the experiment that I'm doing in my life right now with money, is trying, when I give it, to give it with gratitude and freedom and openness. And then more difficult than giving for me, and maybe for a lot of us, is receiving. And when people give to me, I try to receive without taking on a sense of debt. And I've been getting some good practice in that lately with some people that have been giving to me in some amazing ways. One of the places I'm getting to practice that is the Patreon page that I set up. And I haven't had a whole lot of people becoming patrons yet, but slowly and surely people are coming in and becoming patrons and pledging a monthly amount. And some are pledging, $2, and I feel so much gratitude towards them, and some are pledging $50, and I feel so much gratitude towards them. And it's really good practice for me to be able to receive from these people because they believe in what I'm doing, and then I can give back joyously by making videos. Because really now, these videos are starting to become supported by those patrons that are supporting me. So they're like creating these with me. And so to me, even though money is involved, because there's a different attitude, and I've heard this from all, like really everybody I communicate with who becomes patrons, you know, they're happy to give what they can. They just feel giving. And so I think somehow there's a shift here in how money is used. And I think that it can be used as long as we have it here and it's a reality in a beautiful way. But I believe that it's an attitudinal shift we need to make in order for that to happen. I would love to hear your experiences with money. Is it evil to you? Does it have redeeming features? Is it necessary for our culture to exist? How could our attitudes or the way we use it change or shift in order to make it so that it's a force for positive instead of a force for negative? Your wisdom, your insights, your thoughts. Share them all below. I'm very, very excited to hear from you. Thanks for watching.